Yá'át'ééh, Bene. Good morning, my relatives. It's Mark Charles. Today is Tuesday, December 16th of 2025, and I am once again sitting here with my second cup of coffee. It's been a while since I've been with you. I had a fairly busy month in the month of November, but I had a very productive month. There was a lot of transition going on within my work and within some of the patterns of my rhythms of my work. And I took the month to try and take some time to rethink how do I want to move my work forward over the next not only just several weeks or months, but over the next several years and even decades. And so it was good to sit down, think through those things, and reflect on that. And I want to share some of that with you this morning. But I also want to start by doing like I always do and acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from what's now called Washington, D.C., but these are the traditional lands of the Piscataway. And I want to honor the Piscataway as the host of the land where I'm living. I want to thank the Piscataway for their stewardship of these lands and just state how humbling it is to be living, breathing, moving, existing on these lands today. So my Piscataway relatives, Yá'át'ééh, thank you for your stewardship of these lands. Let's see who's on. I know there's a few people jumping on this morning, but George, Yá'át'ééh, good morning. Great to have you. Thanks for joining this morning. It's good to have you on. I know there's a few other people joining this morning. Like I said, it's been about a month since I've been here, and I don't have a lot of time this morning. I have a few appointments I have to do later this morning. And so I don't have a lot of time to jump into this conversation, but I definitely wanted to share with you some of the things I'm working on and some of the things that I'm going to do differently as I move forward. So if you have a few minutes, we have about 15-20 minutes here to talk about some things. Grab your favorite cup of your morning beverage. I have a good cup of coffee, and join me for a conversation. Steve, Yá'át'ééh, Bina, thanks for joining. Your picture you sent the other day to me from the snow in Iowa was gorgeous. I looked very cold, and I'm sure it's gotten even colder over the past few weeks or past week or so. But yeah, we've been having some pretty cold weather here in DC. In fact, the past 2 days, I don't think we've got above freezing. Today we're supposed to get out to about 38, and tomorrow and Thursday we're going to be in the 50s, I believe. So our weather is warming up, but it's been really nice to have some good cold winter weather. I love the four seasons. I love the changing of the seasons, and especially as we come up on the shortest day of the year and the winter solstice, and which technically people call the first day of winter, but it's actually when the sun begins moving back north again after going south for so many months. It's actually a day of hope when we come up on that December 21st day. But anyway, let me talk to you a little bit about what I've been thinking, what's been going on. So I posted last week I was going to talk about the cabinet meeting. This is the cabinet meeting we've all heard about, the cabinet meeting where Donald Trump called Somali refugees garbage. And it was very disappointing to hear the President of the United States talk that way so publicly and so blatantly dehumanizing towards entire groups of people. It's clearly racist, classist. He even included some sexist comments in there as well. Clearly, Donald Trump is not healthy and does not represent what I hope would be the best of this nation. He's not even trying, in my opinion. And I wanted to talk about that today, or I was planning to talk about that today. But over the past month and a half, I've been doing a lot of reflecting on my work and on my work rhythms and my patterns. And I forget if I've shared this on this platform before or not, but last year, I came to the realization that I'm doing what I want to do literally for the rest of my life. As you know, I don't have a normal job. I used to work as a computer programmer. And I did that work both as a full-time employee and then as a contractor for a number of years. And then a few years ago, I made my primary work speaking and writing, and I've been able to focus on that for the past several years. It causes my income to be fairly sporadic, and sometimes there's some good ups and then some really pretty bad downs. But I've been doing that for the past several years. And right now, what I'm doing, I realized this past year, what I'm doing right now, writing books, doing my podcast, speaking to audiences around the country, engaging in foundational level conversations and discussions, trying to not necessarily be an activist, but shift the paradigm and to work really hard to keep my voice independent so that I can make the challenging critiques that we need to have as a nation. And I realized this past year, I'm doing what I want to do literally for the rest of my life. And I don't intend to retire from this, right? I'm this is what I want to do. And I'm working for foundational level change. If you remember when I ran for president, my goal was a national dialogue on race, gender, and class, a Truth and Conciliation Commission. I've talked about the needs not just to amend our foundations, but actually change them, to even rewrite them. I've talked about how we need to remove the doctrine of discovery as the legal precedent for land titles, right? These are foundational level work within our country. And the campaign I ran in 2020 helped me understand that those things aren't going to change overnight. And so these past several years, I've been talking about these things and moving in this direction, continuing to work on creating common memory and teaching the history. But especially since the campaign's been over, it's been difficult to respond politically to what's going on. It was challenging during the Biden administration. It's gotten even more challenging during the Trump administration. I can't diagnose, no one can diagnose Trump remotely, but he displays many of the symptoms of someone who struggles with a narcissistic personality disorder. And he lacks empathy, and he is bombastic and extreme in his reactions and response. I mean, he just displays all of the symptoms of someone who struggles with the narcissistic personality disorder. And the challenge with narcissism is the narcissist tends to create problems that only they can solve, and they do anything to draw attention to themselves, whether it's even positive or negative. And right now, Trump has the largest megaphone in the history of the world, not only with social media and his reach there, but with the presidency of the United States. And he's using that presidency to draw attention to himself at unprecedented levels. And so every time we react to him, respond to him, we're merely just feeding what is going on with him, which does not appear healthy from an outside perspective, right? No one should be talking about refugees and people from the margins the way Donald Trump talks about them, but especially someone with the types of power and authority that Donald Trump has should not be speaking that way. Just yesterday, his reaction to the death of Rob Reiner was despicable, absolutely deplorable. Clearly, the man is not behaving in a healthy way. His vindictiveness, his pettiness it's really scary to think someone as vindictive and as petty as Donald Trump has the nuclear launch capabilities that we give to the president of our nation. And I can protest, I can scream, I can yell, but until Republican senators decide that he's acting in a way that is completely inappropriate, there's not a whole lot, right? I mean, I can scream, I can yell, I can call it out, and there's a lot of very good voices, people with platforms much bigger than mine, who are protesting in those ways and calling for those kinds of responses from our national leaders, right? I live in DC. I don't even have a senator here. No one whose office I can go into and say, hey, you should think about, how you're going to vote, because I'm not even represented. And on top of that, I'm from the Navajo Nation, which also doesn't have any national representation. And so that's not an excuse, but what I'm saying is, clearly the system's rigged to marginalize and to diminish voices. But there's also other people who are doing that kind of work. And while I may not agree with the way people go about that work on a daily basis, I realize that's not the kind of work that I want to invest my time in. Because there are so many much more foundational level problems that we need to address. Common memory, truth and conciliation, land titles, right? All of these things. The book I'm writing on decolonizing faith, the book I'm researching and working on with decolonizing health, and how has our colonial values and lifestyles have impacted not only our faith traditions, but even our health of our individual bodies as well as our society as a whole. And these are the conversations I really want to have. And I can't have those conversations if I continue centering Donald Trump every time I go on and speak publicly, if I let him steal the attention and the focus every single time he gets the urge to have people look at him again. And so I'm going to begin responding less and less to Donald Trump. I may bring it up, I may mention it, but I really want to focus on the long game. As you know, in the past 2.5 years, I've radically changed my health. I've lost close to 60 pounds. I've brought my blood sugar from pre-diabetic levels down to incredibly healthy levels. I've changed my sleep. I've changed my breathing. I've made my life walkable. I've radically changed my health. One of the reasons I did this is because I did not want to get into my late 50s and 60s and 70s where I feel like I'm finally gaining some of the wisdom and experience to talk about some of the things I want to talk about, only to have my body and my health and my mind deteriorating due to things that could be preventable had I just kept myself healthier. And so I made these changes so I could enjoy a relationship with my family, enjoy a relationship with those around me, with my community, with my city, with my nation, and with you. I'm doing what I want to do for the rest of my life. And to do it for the rest of my life, I have to find a way to do it sustainably. And responding to every antic, every craziness that Donald Trump spews out from the plethora of microphones he has in front of us is not sustainable. It's not. And it's not going to bring about the change. Just getting Donald Trump out of office is not going to bring about the change, right? I've said this before. Donald Trump is, yes, he's a problem, but he's not the root of the problem. This last election, 2024, a majority of U.S. voters knew what Donald Trump stood for, knew what he wanted, heard him talk, knew what to expect, and they said, yes, that's what we want moving forward. We have much, much deeper problems than the petty, vindictive behavior of Donald Trump. So anyway, I'm working on refocusing my energy to the long game. I want to continue talking about this stuff into my 60s, into my 70s, into my 80s. I want to do what I can to create common memory, to move towards truth and conciliation, to wrestle with our land titles, to look at why the Christian faith in its scriptures has such a celebratory view of violence and even equates violence with love, with why our society sees the human population as separate from the natural world. These are the things that I want to look at and address and talk about. And I can't do that if I allow Donald Trump to keep stealing the mic. So I'm going to go back to what I did when I was in the debate with the independent candidates in Vermin Supreme. Vermin Supreme was running for president in 2020 when I ran. I was at a third-party independent debate with him. We sat at a long table. They went up the row every time with questions. And Vermin Supreme has good intentions, but he gets his attention by doing antics, singing songs, doing crazy stuff, saying crazy things, right? That's how I respect him. But he gets attention by doing antics. And he went before me every single question. And every time he played a song, he sang something, he did something outrageous. And then I had to bring it back. And I had to choose. Do I respond to him? Do I try to play off of him or what? And every time he did his thing. And then I just went back into the things I wanted to discuss. And I didn't even really wrestle or acknowledge what he was doing right next to me. I just continued to have the conversation that I wanted to have. At the end of the debate, he shook my hand, said he appreciated what I had to say, and even said he was going to vote for me. We need to focus on playing the long game and not let ourselves be distracted by the people who, in very unhealthy ways, are just looking for attention. Not that we don't need to protest, right? Some of the things Trump is doing are absolutely dangerous, illegal, and need to be addressed. And there are people working on that, and I applaud them. But I want to focus on the long game. I started a Substack last week. The first article was called 25 Years of Shitty First Drafts. I talked about how I've had 25 years of half-baked thoughts in my mind, rumbling around. And in this past several months, I've learned how to get those in front of me and reflected back to me and work through them and actually get to some points of clarity regarding them. I want to share my Substack with you. I welcome you to go there and read my inaugural article on my Substack. It's called My Wireless Hogan. And in that article, I talk about 25 years of shitty first drafts. I just published another article yesterday, and I welcome you to read that article. That article was called My Favorite Pair of Shoes. And I talked about how I got into barefoot running. Now, that may seem trivial or lighthearted in light of what's going on and what's being said. And in the short term, it is. But in the long term, if we don't learn how to take care of our bodies, if we don't learn how to live healthy, if we don't learn how to learn from our thoughts and our ideas and our processes and use them productively moving forward, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So I'm playing the long game. And I invite you to join me. I'm hoping this will allow me to go on more frequently. If you've noticed in the past year, my podcasts have gotten less and less frequent because the production time has increased as I've tried to sharpen my critique and respond to things that was going on. I wasn't talking about the things that I was really excited about and learning about and trying to understand. And I've done a lot of changes in my life in the past several years. Things I want to share with you about. So I'm going to reframe the conversation. I'm going to stop allowing Donald Trump to steal my attention. I'm going to focus on the long game. I'm going to enjoy my cup of coffee, and I'm going to have what I hope hope are meaningful and edifying conversations. Because I want to walk in beauty. And I want all of us to learn how to walk in beauty together. My relatives, thank you for joining me this morning. I will be on again soon. I appreciate all of you. I invite you to subscribe to my Substack, to subscribe to my Patreon, to follow me on social media, to subscribe to my podcast. I am beginning to treat all of these platforms and the audiences that are there as relationships that I am beginning to invest in. They're not work I'm producing, they're relationships I'm fostering. And I'm looking forward to fostering relationships in as many different ways as possible, online as well as in person. I can't have my relatives. Hakone.